So far we have studied about like your protein trafficking, means story of you can say like your journey of your NAP protein, how it is being synthesized in the nucleus through the process of transcription and translation, and then these messenger RNA, they comes out from the nucleus, then later on they further go for this protein synthesis and all. So we have already studied those things in details, and mostly today will be the last class about this protein trafficking. So in this, so far we have considered like how your protein has been modified and undergo further modification inside the ER. Then they enter into the Golgi for further modification. Then they enter into the lysosome. Then they go out for the out of the plasma membrane, something like that. So we have studied everything in the detail. So today will be mostly the last class about this protein trafficking. So I just want to refresh yourself, you all, like as we said that we have two protein synthesis machinery in our body. First is, or you can say in other ways, there are two different distinct locales for protein synthesis in our body or in any of the eukaryotic cell. So first is like floating ribosomes, and another one is, you can say, membrane bound ribosomes. So the proteins which are synthesized on free floating ribosomes, they have, you can say, they have their destiny inside the cytoplasm itself. Means the protein which will follow, which you can say just after transcription, when messenger RNA will leave this nucleus and they will enter into the cytoplasm through this nucleopore complex, they will, if they are being synthesized by, or they are being recognized and synthesized by, you can say, your free floating ribosomes, it means that the final fate of this protein is inside the cytosol, inside the cytoplasm. So if we talk about some typical example of this cytosolic proteins, like your enzymes and proteins of your glycolytic pathway, all kind of glucokinase, hexokinase, and other enzyme which is required for glycolytic pathway, it will be synthesized by on this your free floating ribosomes. And the proteins which are being synthesized on ribosome, which is actually membrane bound, you can say ki the protein which are synthesized on endoplasmic reticulum, if we say precisely rough endoplasmic reticulum. So the proteins which follows these pathway, they are like your mostly they are your secreted protein. Secreted protein bole to your hormones which has to which cell secrete them, and they go outside the cell. And another one is your integral membrane proteins. Like there are that there are so many membrane transporters, ion pumps, and channels. They are just embedded in the plasma membrane in the periphery. And if we talk about, yes, there are some soluble proteins of your like your endosomes bole to, like your proteins of nuclear envelope, proteins of endoplasmic reticulum, proteins of Golgi apparatus, proteins of lysosome, proteins of endosomes, proteins of plant vacuoles, proteins of plasma membranes. So these are the proteins. They are synthesized on the ribosome, which is actually bound to the plasma membrane of endoplasmic reticulum. So there are two pathways. So there are two distinct locales. First is free floating ribosomes. Another one is membrane bound ribosomes. You can see that here in the free floating ribosomes. So protein जिसका की डेस्टिनी साइटोप्लाज्म है, न्यूक्लियस है, माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया है, क्लोरोप्लास्ट है, पेरोक्सिसोम है. These proteins, they will follow this free floating ribosome, means this messenger RNA. After processing bole to, in case you all know that in case of eukaryotes, after transcription, this messenger RNA has to undergo for some sort of post transcriptional modification, you can say some sort of processing. So they will undergo 5' capping, 3' tailing, and some kind of, you can say, removal of introns and joining of exons, something like that. So once this mature messenger RNA, they come out of the nucleus through the nuclear pore inside the cytoplasm. So now you can see that there are free floating ribosomes. They are there in the cytoplasm. They just recognize this 5' end. If it is eukaryotic protein or messenger RNA, then these ribosomes will recognize the Kozak sequence, which is present at extreme 5' end of your messenger RNA, and they will start the translations. And the fate or journey of this, and the, you can say, destiny of these proteins would be your nucleus, mitochondria, chloroplast, peroxisome, and cytoplasm. And if, let's say, once your mature messenger RNA, they just leave the nucleus, they enter into the cytoplasm, but not into the bare cytoplasm. They just enter into the nucleus. Through nucleopore, they directly enter into the ER, endoplasmic reticulum. As I said, if you remember my first lecture on this endoplasmic reticulum and all, so I said that these endoplasmic reticulum, they are just a continuation of outer envelope of nucleus. जो न्यूक्लियस का आउटर इन्वेलप है उसका कंटिन्यूएशन है आपका ईआर. देयर इज नो क्लियर कट डिमार्केशन बिटवीन न्यूक्लियर इन्वेलप एंड endoplasmic reticulum. So you can just assume that this mature messenger RNA, they will just leave this nucleus through this nuclear pore, and they will just guide themselves into the ER lumen. So they don't have to enter into the bare cytoplasm. So they will directly enter into the come into the plasma membrane of endoplasmic reticulum, where your ribosomes and other things are there. So they will start the translation. This is what we call membrane bound ribosomes. And the protein which actually follows this pathway, their destiny could be your plasma membrane, secretory vesicles like your hormones and all other, as I said, your lysosomes, your endosomes, and everything. And one more thing we discussed in last class, like most of the cytoplasmic or cytosolic enzymes or proteins, they do not have disulfide bonds, but the proteins which follows these membrane bound ribosomes, they will definitely have, you can say, your disulfide bonds. And why it is so, we have discussed it pretty well. Like in case of cytoplasm, as I said, that cytoplasm is highly reduced. Cytoplasm is highly reducing environments, so they will have a lot of H plus and all. And you know that formation of disulfide bond, these two cysteine residues has to come closer, and H will remove, and this sulfur group, they will come closer and they will form the disulfide bonds. But in case of cytoplasm, because they have plenty of H plus, so they will prevent the formation of a disulfide bond because of reducing environment. So this is the reason your the protein which follows this free ribosome in cytosol wala pathway, they will not have your disulfide bonds. But protein which follows this membrane bound ribosome wala pathway, they will have your this disulfide bonds. And I have already discussed, like in case inside the lumen of endoplasmic reticulum, we have peptidyl isomerase enzymes, so which has role in formation of disulfide bonds. So these are the few things that we have already discussed in details. And as I said, today will be our last class for this protein trafficking. We have already covered more than 88 or 9 lectures on this. So, and I want to inform you all that we have already covered this membrane bound ribosome wala pathway. In detail, we did discuss in details about how protein enters into the ER, which kind of modification takes place, N-linked or O-linked, how these protein they leave the ER, they enter into the Golgi. Then we discussed, like we have like 3 different types of transport vesicles, like COP1, COP2, and COP3. These clathrin coated vesicles instead of this COP3. So we have COP2 means anterograde direction, means once your transport vesicles, they will move from ER to Golgi, they will be guided or copped by, like you can say, COP2 proteins. If they move from retrograde directions, means from Golgi to ER, COP1 proteins. And if the transport vesicles or protein has to move from trans-Golgi network to lysosome or up to the plasma membrane, they will follow the, you can say, clathrin coated mediated transport vesicles. So these things we have discussed in details. So today we will discuss about this free ribosome machinery. Free ribosome machinery means how these proteins are transported into the mitochondria, how the proteins are transported into the chloroplast, how the proteins NAB proteins are being transported into the peroxisome. So let's start with that. So uptake of proteins into the mitochondria. So this is first example of, we'll study about like free ribosome machinery. So here we will consider the example of, you can say, this mitochondria. You all have idea about this structure of mitochondria. You can see they have again two layer of membrane, outer membrane and inner membrane, and they do have like crystal like structure. You can see they have crystal like structure, ridge structure, something like this. So, and these you can see in this color here, blue color, you can see over here, this is the matrix of mitochondria, and this is the place where you know all sort of like your you can say TCA cycles and everything takes place inside the matrix. So how these matrix proteins, means proteins of enzymes of, you can say, TCA cycle, or enzymes of what we call these Krebs cycles, they are being synthesized in the cytosol, and how they are getting transported inside the matrix of this mitochondria. So we'll study about that. Let's say your mature messenger RNA, they have inside the nucleus itself, they got their fibrous cap, their 3' end has been trimmed out, and there has been like a poly A tail has been added at the 3' end, and their introns has been spliced it out. So now this mature messenger RNA, they will enter into your cytoplasm through the nucleus pore. Now in the cytoplasm, as I said, there are free floating ribosomes. They are there. They will recognize the fibrous cap, they will recognize the Kozak sequence, they will recognize the initiation codon, and they will start the translation. So after translation, let's say you get the polypeptide. So one important point I would like to mention over here. So like you can see in case of like this free ribosome machinery, this protein on the on three ribosomes, there will be a translation. So this protein will synthesize, and protein will further, they will undergo the folding. Why they are undergoing this folding process? Because as I said, your cytoplasm, they are filled up with your you can say they are filled up with 70% of water. So, and you know that your proteins, they could have like hydrophilic amino acids and hydrophobic amino acids as well. So these hydrophobic amino acids, they will not feel comfortable with the hydrophilic environment of cytoplasm. So they will try to occupy themselves or bury themselves inside the core of the protein. So this is the reason protein undergoes for folding, so that all kind of hydrophilic proteins, they will occupy the you can say periphery of the proteins, and your hydrophobic proteins, they will try to occupy the, or they will try to bury themselves into the core of the proteins. So they will undergo folding. But now my friend, these unfolded protein cannot enter into the mitochondria as such. So they have to undergo unfolding process before they enter into the mitochondria. You can see over here this you can say this orange color polypeptide over here. So this is in unfolded condition. So first your proteins are getting translated in the bare cytoplasm, then they at the same time they undergo for folding. ठीक है, फोल्डिंग को जाती है, और जो भी जितने भी आपके हाइड्रोफोबिक अमीनो एसिड्स हैं, वो प्रोटीन का जो कोर होता है उसके नीचे अपने आप को ऑक्युपाई करता है. But if it is, and first of all, again, I want to rebrush you all. Like as I said that like every kind of proteins, they have certain unique signal sequence at the N-terminus end. Let's say if it is protein of endoplasmic reticulum, so they will have certain signal sequence at the N-terminus end, what we call KDEL sequence. Let's say if the proteins, if the final fate or final destiny of this protein is inside the nucleus, so they will have NLS sequence at the N-terminus end, what we call nucleus localizing signal. If the protein has to enter into the mitochondria, so they will have MLS sequence at the end, at the extreme N-terminus end, what we call mitochondrial localizing signal. So these things we have studied in detail, so I don't want to go further into that, and I just want to go ahead with this. So so now these mitochondrial proteins, so they have at the N terminus end, they have some sort of signal sequence. And what is this signal sequence? This signal sequence is nothing. They are just, you can say, they are just your amino acid ka sequence at N terminus end. So these mitochondrial protein you can see over here at N terminus end, there are few basic amino acids. Positive means there are few basic amino acids are there. As I said, for nuclear localizing sequence, they are also rich with your basic amino acids. So again, the protein which has to enter into the mitochondria, they will have signal sequence at the N terminus end, and these signal sequence are your basic or positively charged amino acids. They are just lying at the you can say N terminus end of your polypeptide chain. So now question is, let's say translation has occurred inside the bare cytoplasm. Partial folding has been occurred inside the cytoplasm. How this protein will enter into the this mitochondria? So for that there is a protein what we call cytoplasmic chaperone. You can see over here cytosolic chaperones like HSP70. HSP, we call them heat shock protein 70. 70 stands for your molecular weight. It is heat shock protein. It is a protein which is having molecular weight of 70 kDa. That's why we call them HSP70. So this is your cytosolic chaperones. And we have already discussed in earlier classes, these chaperones, they are there to protect your naive polypeptides. Naive बोले तो जो नया तुरंत फ्रेश जो आपका polypeptide synthesize हुआ है उसको ये protection provide करता है, and they provide some sort of micro environment so that, and they allow this polypeptide to fold further and to attain the native or functional structure. So here the function of chaperone, they just cover this polypeptide, okay? They just unfold them. So here in this case, because as I said, this polypeptide, they have already attained their tertiary structure, but the chaperone, they will unfold them. They will let this polypeptide to attain the linear form with the help of this chaperones, what we call HSP70. Okay? And they will bring this polypeptide from cytosol to the plasma membrane of mitochondria. So now you see, so let's say now your polypeptide chain, they has been docked to the plasma membrane of the mitochondria with the help of cytosolic chaperone, what we call HSP70. So now there are two transporters or two channels, they are present in the plasma membrane of mitochondria. In the outer mitochondrial membrane, there is a one protein or channel what we call TOM, and in the internal membran or inner membrane there is a protein or transporter what we call TIM. So don't get confused with TOM and TIM. So it's a basic concept you can apply. T stands for transporter, O stands for outer, M stands for membrane. So if transporter is present in the outer membrane, we call them TOM. If this transporter is present in the inner membrane, we call them TIM. So this is what we call TOM and TIM. So this TOM is present in the outer membrane of mitochondria, and this TIM is present in the inner mitochondrial membrane. And these TOM and TIM, they provide the passage through which your polypeptide chain travel from long way from cytosol. They just traverse through this plasma membrane and they enter into the mitochondrial matrix. So this is how you can see how this TOM and TIM, they are very crucial for transportation of your polypeptide from cytosol to the matrix. So now let's say your polypeptide, they have crossed this TOM complex, finally they have crossed the TIM complex, and they have entered into the matrix of mitochondria. Now my friend, again, if you remember my class of that signal hypothesis, when we were discussing some signal recognition protein and SRP receptors, like SRP receptors are on their ER membrane, and signal recognition particles, they recognize the N-terminus end of proteins. There will be recognition between SRP and SRP receptors, and finally they will push the polypeptide into the ER. and then inside the ER there is a protein what we call signal peptidase. They just chop up, they just trim this signal sequence, and finally they just let this protein to uh, be inside the ER का lumen. Same stories that and same pathway are being followed up for in case of mitochondria also. So as you can see that this is your signal sequence, and this signal sequence they decide the destiny or fate of this protein. So this is the signal sequence. So this is the reason your signal sequence is so much important. So they have every information. They have like all sort of information. They will decide means where this protein will go, means what the destiny of protein is. So now let's say your polypeptide chain they have been entered into the mitochondrial matrix. So there is a mitochondrial processing peptidase, what we call MPP. So you can call them signal peptidase. So this signal peptidase, they just cleave this N-terminal signal sequence, okay? And now there is again mitochondrial chaperone. So this was cytosolic chaperone HSP70, but we do have mitochondrial chaperone, what we call HSP70. So this chaperone, they further help this linear polypeptide chain to attain the folded structure or functional structure or native structure. So now you have native structure. Now this could be your like enzymes of your like TCA cycles, and they will perform the all kind of your like Krebs cycles wala pathway and all. So and this has been converted into your functional or native protein. So this was the case of mitochondrial matrix protein. What if it is mitochondrial plasma membrane protein? What if it is integral plasma membrane protein of mitochondria? So in that case, my friend, as I said, for these kind of protein, they have signal sequence at the N-terminus end. But if the destiny of this polypeptide or if this protein has to embedded into the plasma membrane, then there will be a internal signal sequence somewhere in the mid of this polypeptide chain. Okay? And they will, of course, they will enter through this tom-tim complex, but at the tim, instead of going inside the matrix of mitochondria, they will just flip from the tim, and they will just they will just embed themselves into the inner mitochondrial membrane, and they will fix over there. And this is the one of the beauty, you can say, in case of this integral membrane mitochondrial proteins, because these signal sequence, they are present somewhere in the mid, so they are not being cleaved off from this polypeptide chain. So they are just remain with the proteins for throughout their lifespan. So this is how your this protein they enters into the mitochondria. So till now, do you have any confusion? If you have any confusion, you can ask for any sort of question, or else I will move
सर
forward. Yeah. Yes.
सर वो टीम एंड टॉम में वो तो आउटर मेम्ब्रेन इनर मेम्ब्रेन है बट वो टी स्टैंड फॉर व्हाट
T stand for transporter.
ट्रांसपोर्टर
Yeah. So you can see that this transporter, what's the role of this transporter? They just grab this polypeptide chain, and they just let these polypeptide chain to enter into the mitochondria matrix. So this is what transporter role is. So that's why we call them transporter. They just help in transportation of this polypeptide chain from cytosol into the mitochondrial matrix. Okay. So this was all about like mitochondria. So we are studying right now about this free ribosome machinery. As I already said, we have already discussed in detail about this membrane bound ribosome wala pathway, and we are discussing about this free ribosome wala machinery. So this is another example like uptake of proteins into the chloroplast. How?
सर
Yeah, Rosika.
वॉइस नहीं आ रहा था
Am I audible now?
हाँ सर अभी
हाँ, ठीक है. So it's like you can see that like uptake of this protein into the chloroplast. So this is another example of ribosome machinery. So
एक मिनट सर आपका पहले वाले स्लाइड में आपने बोला ना सर चैपरॉन तो फोल्ड करता है ना प्रोटीन को हेल्प करता है ना फोल्ड
yes, but I said that this cytosolic, if you remember my first classes or second or third lecture, I said that these chaperones, first main and major role of this chaperone is to protect the protein. ठीक है, and they provide the room, they provide the space for folding of this particular nab polypeptide. So here in this case, they are not helping this polypeptide for folding. They are just protecting this polypeptide here in this case. Hello, hello, hello. Am I audible?
हाँ बीच में आवाज चला जा रहा है.
Okay, so you can see that these chaperone here, so they just, they just recognize this unfolded protein. They just coat them बोले तो जैसे किसी चीज का जैसे कोटिंग कर देते हो किसी चीज से बचने के लिए. They just coat them, चारों ओर से कोटिंग हो जाती है. जैसे अब आप लोग these अगर कुछ बिस्किट वगैरह कुछ खाते हो देखो उस पर शुगर का कोटिंग होता है. ठीक है, तो समथिंग लाइक दैट. सो दिस पॉलीपेप्टाइड इज देयर. So this chaperone, they will just recognize this polypeptide and they will just cover this polypeptide chain. ठीक है, so that कि आपका polypeptide chain जो है protect रहे, and they will bring this polypeptide chain to this TOM complex, and finally this through this TOM and TIM your unfolded polypeptide will enter into the mitochondrial matrix. ठीक है, same story is works for your this chloroplast also. You can see this is the simpler structure of chloroplast. You can see, so like again this chloroplast have like inner membrane and outer membrane as well. Okay, and they do have inside their matrix or inside the lumen of this chloroplast what we call a stroma. So we can see over here they have like a stacks of thylakoid, and this is the thylakoid, and inside the lumen of thylakoid where your kind of photosynthesis and other things activity takes place. ठीक है, so let's say this inside this lumen or thylakoid, lumen of thylakoid, let's say photosynthesis takes place somewhere here, and there are and you know that all kind of photosynthesis and all we need lot of energy, lot of enzymes and proteins. So how the proteins they are being transported from cytosol to this thylakoid lumen, so we'll study about it. Again same story, this protein will synthesize on free ribosome, means after transcription this messenger RNA they will go for processing, and this mature messenger RNA they will enter into the cytosol. Now inside the cytosol there are free floating ribosomes. They recognize the fibrous cap and they start the translation, and after translation your proteins they attain some sort of their folded conformation. ठीक है, but like as I discussed for mitochondria, again we do have like chaperone like HSP70 chaperones. They just recognize this polypeptide, they just unfold, they just they just protect them, they just unfold them, and they just allow this polypeptide chain to enter into the stroma of what we call lumen of chloroplast. But you can see that there in case of mitochondria, we had like TOM and TIM, but here we have TOC and TIC. So you don't have to it looks like funny TikTok, but but it's something like but there is a logic behind it. TOC stands for transporter, which is for outer chloroplast membrane, and this is TIC, transporter for inner chloroplast membrane, something like this. So this is TOC and TIC is somehow you can say they are synonyms of TOM and TIM, something like that. So these chaperone they just help in this polypeptide to enter into this you can say a stroma of chloroplast. Now there is a important concept over here. You can think about it and you can be more attentive over here. As I said, in case of mitochondria, they have like mitochondrial signal sequence. So similar here in case of chloroplast protein, they will have stroma targeting signal. So they will have also signal sequence at the N-terminus end. So this is a story for all kind of protein. चाहे वो प्रोटीन आपके ER में जाए, गोल्गी में जाए, माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया में जाए, न्यूक्लियस में जाए, क्लोरोप्लास्ट में जाए, पेरोक्सिसोम में जाए, जहां भी जाए, all protein will have their signal sequence at the N-terminus end. So now we have two regions. Okay, one is a stroma for this chloroplast. We have two places in the chloroplast. First is stroma, ठीक है, and another one is lumen of the thylakoid. So protein आपका स्ट्रोमा में भी आएगा और प्रोटीन आपके ल्यूमेन ऑफ थैलेकॉइड में भी आएगा. So it means that protein which जिसका की डेस्टिनी आपका स्ट्रोमा में है, they will have unique signal sequence. And protein जिसका की डेस्टिनी आपका lumen of thylakoids में है, they will have another, you know, unique signal, another sort of another sequence of signal sequence at the N-terminus end. So let's say if this polypeptide and the journey, or you can say destiny of this polypeptide chain is a stroma, so they will have a stroma targeting signal sequence at the N-terminus end. So this polypeptide chain, they will enter into the you can say stroma of the chloroplast, and there is again HSP60. There is a heat shock protein, what we call chaperone 60. Again 60 stands for their molecular weight, 60 kDa. So these polypeptide, they will enter into the, you can say, these HSP60 chaperones or heat sac proteins, and these, you know that these chaperones, they will help them to attain their tertiary structure or folded structure. And again there is a signal peptidase, chloroplast signal peptidase. They are present in the stroma of the chloroplast. They just remove or trimmed out, or they just cleave the signal sequence from the N-terminus end, which is again the story for the mitochondria also. So now this protein will enter into, so this protein will not think that now our, so why they are removing this signal sequence? Because if signal sequence will there, if this signal sequence will present over there, the protein, they will still feel uneasy, because if signal sequence is there, they will feel that the protein will feel that I might have to go to other place. So so this is what we call comfort zone of protein. So here in this case, this is the reason, and this our cell, they just chopped it out, they just clip this N-terminal signal sequence, so that your protein will hardly, they will attain their native or functional structure, and they will call as a resident of you know stromal chloroplast protein, something like that. So this was all about stroma protein. What if protein has to enter into the lumen of thylakoid? So see, this is the thylakoid structure. Thylakoid, again, they do have like uh, single outer plasma membrane. So this protein that has to enter into the lumen of this thylakoid, they will have two signal sequence, my friend. First is stroma signal sequence, which will present at extreme N-terminus end. Then thereafter there will be a thylakoid signal sequence. Okay? So what will happen once your polypeptide chain enter into the you can say ki stroma of chloroplast? So first of all, signal peptidase, they will remove this stroma targeting sequence from the N-terminus end. But again, this protein will feel that no, we do have another signal sequence just after this, which is thylakoid signal sequence. Means I don't have to stay in the stroma of the chloroplast. We have to move further. Our journey has not completed so far. We have to go into the lumen of thylakoid, because this is what our destiny is. So just after removing this stroma signal sequence, this whole polypeptide, they will enter into this thylakoid lumen. So again, inside the thylakoid lumen, there is a signal peptidase. They will again remove this thylakoid transfer domain or thylakoid signal sequence, and finally your protein has been converted or folded into your functional or native structure, and they do their function. They do all sort of, they do participate in all sort of photosynthesis and other metabolic activities. So this is what the how this chloroplast protein, they enter into your stroma and lumen of chloroplast. So another cytosolic organelles apart from mitochondria and chloroplast, we do have like peroxisome. So this is another digestive enzyme sac. If you remember like lysosome and all, we have studied about lysosome, details about lysosome and all. So this peroxisome, this is another digestive enzyme sacs, and this presents in both animal and plant as well. So what is the major role of this peroxisome? You have heard about this beta oxidation. Beta oxidation bole to you have like your like excess of glucose or excess of food, they remains stored in our body as a fat, okay, as a fatty acids or as a triacylglycerols. So these fat or fatty acids, let's say if you are not getting any kind of food, so this store fat and store fatty acids, they will undergo the beta oxidation, and end product of beta oxidation is acetyl coenzyme A. So this will acetyl coenzyme A, you know that this will act as a precursor for like your Krebs cycle. They will enter into the Krebs cycle and they will generate the hell lot of like ATP and energy, something like this. So this you know that this beta oxidation, they break this fatty acid chain into the acetyl coenzyme A. This acetyl coenzyme A under they just enter into the Krebs cycle wala pathway and they produce the energy. But this beta oxidation, they takes place inside the mitochondria. But my friend, this peroxisome, they actually break your long chain fatty acid into medium chain length. You know that like your enzymes of beta oxidation, they just recognize the fatty acid, they just break the fatty acids of hardly 16 to 18, if they are hardly 16 to 18 carbon length. So before that, this food fatty acid, long chain fatty acid, has to undergo for processing and they have to break down into the medium length chain so that they can be easily accessed by beta oxidation enzymes, like enzymatic pathway and all. So for that, this long chain fatty acid has to break down into medium length chain, and this is actually uh, done by your peroxisomal enzymes. So these peroxisomes has a lot of lipase enzymes and all. They break this long chain fatty acid, बोले तो जो कि आपका 40 और 50 कार्बन लेंथ का आपका लॉन्ग चेन फैटी एसिड्स होगा, उसको ब्रेक करके 14 to 16 में ब्रेक करेगा, और दिस विल इट विल मेक इजियर फॉर बीटा ऑक्सीडेशन. ठीक है. तो जैसे ही आपका 14 to 16 कार्बन का आपका फैटी एसिड कन्वर्ट हो गया, नाउ दिस fatty acid length will be sent to the mitochondria for further beta oxidation, and inside the mitochondria, this fatty acid will be again broken down into the acetyl coenzyme A, and this acetyl coenzyme A will enter into your Krebs cycle, and this will produce your energy and ATP. So apart from these things, processing of long chain fatty acids, they these peroxisome, they are involved in detoxifying the cells, such as like whatever alcohol you consume, so whatever other byproducts you consume, and whatever like poisonous things you consume in your food and all. So these like peroxisome, they have like detoxifying agent. They just break them, they just detoxify them, and then finally excrete out from our body. And it has catalase enzyme. They breaks this H2O into H2O2 into H2O and some other free radicals. So they do have some sort of role in this system also. So this is the typical structure of your like peroxisome ka structure. Let's see how this biogenesis of peroxisomes occurs, or how the assembly of peroxisome occurs. So this is again another organelles. As you know, I said that ER, how assembly and biogenesis of ER takes place. So synthesis of ER takes place from the nuclear outer envelope of the मीन्स न्यूक्लियर आउटर एनवेलप. जो भी न्यूक्लियस का आउटर एनवेलप होता है उसका फर्दर एक्सटेंशन होता है, एंड दे फाइनली कन्वर्ट टू द ईआर. एंड गोल्गी का कैसे होता है? गोल्गी से एक्चुअली जो गोल्गी होता है, गोल्गी का सिंथेसिस होता है ईआर से. लाइक ईआर है, ऑल काइंड ऑफ स्मॉल ट्रांसपोर्ट वेसिकल्स, दे विल ट्राई टू bud out from this ER, they will clump together, they will form large membrane sheet, and they will form finally the lysosome. Again, sorry, Golgi, and again Golgi to lysosome. So from the Golgi, from the trans-Golgi network, a small membrane transport vesicles, they will try to bud it out, they will fuse together, and they will form the lysosome. So something like that. This is how these endogenous or endosome organelles has been synthesized. So same case with the peroxisome. So these peroxisome, they are again synthesized from the ER. So you know that there are a lot of transport vesicles. They are coming out from the ER. Okay? And these transport vesicles, either they will fuse to the Golgi, or they might, if these transport vesicles have some unique protein, what we call PAX3 and PAX19. PAX stands for peroxisomal proteins. So if two proteins PAX3 and PAX9, they are being catered, or if they are being assembled in this plasma membrane of your transport vesicles, they will convert into your preperoxisomal particles. Later on, these preperoxisomal particles, they fuse together and they finally forms the peroxisome. And you know that these peroxisomes, they have some sort of proteins like enzymes like lipase and other enzymes and catalase and other things like that. So these enzymes, they are synthesized on the free ribosome machinery, okay? And from the cytosol they are entering into the this lumen of the peroxisome. So all I want to say, wanted to say that bottom line of this story is, so while detaching of these transport vesicles from the endoplasmic reticulum, there are two protein what we call PAX3 and PAX19. They are being, you can see they are being assembled onto the this plasma membrane of transport vesicles. And once these PAX3 and PAX19 they are being assembled on these vesicles, it means that these vesicles they will mature into your pre-peroxisomal vesicles, and later on two or three pre-peroxisomal vesicles they fuse together and they form the large peroxisome. So now how these proteins are being uptaken into the peroxisome. This is again example of your free ribosome machinery. But here there is a difference between, we have discussed about this, how these protein are imported into the mitochondria, chloroplast, and now third one is peroxisome. There is a bit different story in the case of this peroxisome. If you remember, in case of mitochondria or in case of chloroplast, they do have like you can see they in that case this protein has to unfold before they enter into the lumen of mitochondria or chloroplast. But in the case of peroxisome, this protein they enter into the peroxisome in folded form. Okay? They do not have to undergo for unfolding. They just transport into the peroxisome as such, means in their native form or in their functional form or in their 3D three-dimensional form. So proteins are transported into the peroxisomal matrix in the folded or functional state, which is not the case of chloroplast and mitochondria. So here you can see that, as I said, every protein has a signal sequence at the N terminus N, and this signal sequence decides the fate or destiny of the protein. So same story goes with your peroxisomal protein also. They will have signal sequence at N terminus N. So instead of chaperones, here PEX, there is some specialized protein which recognize the, you don't have to remember the name of protein, just you, for the sake of understanding, we just you can just understand that like there are a few proteins, they recognize the end of this signal sequence, they just dock this folded protein to the transporter which is present on in this plasma membrane of peroxisome, and they help in pushing and they help in transportation of this folded protein into the peroxisomal matrix. Now we have peroxisomal signal peptidase, they just cleave this signal sequence, and finally your proteins they enter into the uh, peroxisomal matrix and they do their function. So this is how you can see how this protein they are getting transported into the chloroplast, mitochondria, and peroxisome as well. And I have already discussed that all proteins synthesized on free ribosome machinery they lack disulfide bond. I have already said that they lack disulfide bond. Why they lack disulfide bond? You can see, you have seen that in case of this mitochondria and chloroplast, this protein has to undergo unfolding before entering into the matrix. So if let's say if there is a disulfide bond over here, so this disulfide bond will be reduced. This disulfide bond will be broken down. So this is the reason these proteins they do not have, majorly this protein has they do not have like disulfide bonds. Now let's discuss the last topic of your this protein trafficking things, the endocytic pathway. So moving the membrane and material into the cell, how the membrane is moving, how the dynamics of membrane is being fixed, how the materials are moving from the cell exterior into the cell interior. So there are three pathways for endocytosis. So endocytosis is nothing, it's just uptake of molecules from your surrounding or from, let's say कोई सेल है उसका प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन है, तो सराउंडिंग से कोई भी मटेरियल का कैसे अपटेक होगा इनसाइड द सेल, दिस इज व्हाट वी कॉल endocytosis. There are three pathways for this: phagocytosis, pinocytosis, and receptor mediated endocytosis, what we call RME, receptor mediated endocytosis. So if we see about this phagocytosis, if you have like like if you have solid particle, if you have larger particles, and if in some case if you have like microbes. If you remember, we said that we do have macrophages in our body, and these macrophages, they roaming all over in the blood of human being. So these macrophages, they just recognize this bacterial cell, they just trap them, they engulf them, they kill them with the help of lysosome and other things like that. We'll discuss them in detail, and we have already discussed about them in details in previous classes and all. So phagocytosis, the typical example of phagocytosis is like killing of or engulfing of microbes through the phagocytic cell in case of eukaryotes or human being. So you can see that in phagocytosis, if you have solid particles which are larger in size, they will enter through this pseudopodia-like structure, and they will enter into the cell through this phagosome-like structure. We have already discussed about this phagosome, what phagosome is in the previous classes. But if your material is in fluid form, so here material, they are in solid form or large or suspended particle, what we call phagocytosis. But if you are trying to endocytize, or if you are trying to engulf the extracellular fluid from outside to the inside, this is what we call pinocytosis. Okay? But so this was all about phagocytosis, solid particles and larger particles. Pinocytosis, when fluid is there, and receptor mediated endocytosis, it means this will also it will again a solid particles, but the some sort of proteins and hormones which are smaller in size and which are present in extreme low concentration. So for that, they have like receptor which is embedded in the plasma membrane. So this is what we call receptor mediated endocytosis. So like for insulin, we have insulin receptor on our plasma membrane. For glucagon, we have glucagon receptor on the plasma membrane. So so if endocytosis is taken place with the help of this receptor, we call them receptor mediated pathway. So these are the major three types of endocytosis. So first we'll discuss about this phagocytosis. As I said, phagocytosis, it means that cell eating. It is actually carried out by your specialized cell. Specialized cell bole to your phagocytes. As I said, like we do have like phagocytic cell, and they are immune cells. They are there to protect us. They always roam inside the blood. They always wander through the blood whenever they feel and whenever they see some sort of microorganisms are there in the if they are entering through your bloodstream or through your cell, they will just entrap them, engulf them, they will kill them. That's why we call them phagocytosis, means cell eating. Okay. So this will take place for a particle which is relatively larger in size, 0.5 micromolar. So you can see that over phagocytosis, if the solid particle they are larger in size, 0.5 micromolar, 5.5 micrometer in diameter, they will be engulfed or phagocytized through this phagocytosis process. So one typical example of phagocytosis you can see in the case of amoeba. What amoeba do? They just trap the food from the surrounding environment through their pseudopodia like structure. You can see this is the amoeba structure. They have like pseudopodia like structure, something like that, and these are, you can say, these are their food. So they just trap these food, they just engulf them inside the plasma membrane through the process what we call endocytosis or phagocytosis. And this phagosome, they further fuse with the lysosome, and they finally break this food into the smaller particles like amino acids and carbon and oxygen and phosphorus, something like that, and those materials are being utilized for the construction or for the building of their cells or their body of the amoeba. In animal cells, this phagocytosis is a protective mechanism rather than a mode of feeding. In amoeba, this phagocytosis is a mode of feeding, means they just trap the food, they engulf them, they process them, they get the energy or they get the free amino acids, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, and they make the use for the as a building block of their cells. But in case of animals, this is a protective mechanism. As I said, we do have professional phagocytes in our membrane, like macrophages, neutrophils, monocytes, so we do have like lot of phagocytic cells in our body. So let's say if we talk about macrophages and all, so what they do, they just entrap some sort of microorganism. How do they interact? So these macrophages and phagocytic cells, they have one receptor what we call TLR, toll-like receptor. So these receptors, they interact with the plasma membrane of your engulf or your microbes. So once these microbes interact with toll-like receptors, so after endocytosis or phagocytosis, they are being internalized, they are being engulfed inside the cell, and they form the phagosome structure. Okay, this is what we call phagosome structure. Again, we have studied what phagosome and what phagolysosome is in previous classes. So this is your phagosome. So now this, once this phagosome fuse with the lysosome, we call them phagolysosome. Okay, and you know that this lysosome, they are, they have like all sort of enzymes, lipase, protease, RNAs, everything, all sort of enzymes they are filled with. So this lysosome, with the help of lysosomal enzymes, these microorganisms, they are being chopped off, they are being killed, they are being inactivated, and finally they are being excreted out through the exocytosis from the cells. So this is how your protective mechanism they works in our body. And this lysosome we have already discussed. They are coming out through this trans-Golgi network. This lysosome earlier they call early lysosome and late lysosome. This early lysosome they have higher pH. This late lysosome they will have lower pH, or what we call mature lysosome. They fuse with this phagosome and they finally kill the cells, something like that. And I have also discussed in last class, like in lipofuscin, if let's say if you are killing these microbes, and if these granules, lipid granules, they still resides in the body as a as a pigment, as a granules, we call them lipofuscin granules. And we say that as we age, as the age of organism is increasing day by day, amount of lipofuscin pigment granules is also increasing day by day. So this is a marker for your aging, you can say. So as I said, these bacteria are being engulfed through the process what we call phagocytosis. So there are few bacteria, they actually escape the phagocytic machinery. I will tell you one example. First of all, I want to tell how these things are being denatured. So let's say these bacterial, they have entered into this you can say your macrophages and all. So these phagosome they fuse with the lysosome. Okay, after once they fuse with the lysosome has like so many enzymes and all, they just help in killing of these microbes. So there is one way, through these lysosomal enzymes these microbes they are being killed. There is another way what we call oxygen free radicals. So there is a generation of oxygen free radicals. So this is oxygen free radicals is nothing, they are OH minus radical, or they are O2 radical, something like that. So these oxygen free radicals they are highly unstable. If they are unstable means they can recognize with any sort of your hydrocarbon chain. They can break. If they are unstable means they can break all of your covalent bond and your double bond and single bond, all sort of bond they can break. If they will break the bond, it means that they will disrupt the integrity of plasma membrane of that particular organelles. So this is how your lysosome they kills the microorganism. So some organisms they just hijack this machinery. They just fool these kind of machinery. Typical example are like Mycobacterium tuberculosis. You can see that this is the causating agent for TB or tuberculosis.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Prabha.
सर ऑक्सीजन फ्री रेडिकल कैसे मतलब डिस्ट्रॉय करता है सर वो वाला एक बार आप प्लीज रिपीट कर सकते हैं आवाज नहीं आ रहा था ठीक से
Yes, I will tell you how. As I said that they have like a mechanism, like they convert this like H2O2 into your oxygen or some sort of your free radical and all. Okay. So what happens if you remember my previous classes where I will just show you these slides here. Yes, here you can see that. So this is the lysosome. You can see over here. So like uh, some sort of arginine and some sort of oxygen, they are being converted into reactive oxygen species inside the phagolysosome like structure. So once you have generated the free radical, so now I will proceed further. Yeah. So let's say your lysosome they have generated the free radicals. So these free radicals means they will have इंडिविजुअल आपका इलेक्ट्रॉन होगा, आपका सिंगल डॉट जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं O2 सिंगल डॉट, जैसे हम लोग रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं. So these free radicals, they are highly unstable. Why we call them stable? Because they do not have lone pair. They have single electron onto their this outer orbital. They have single electron over there. So because of presence of this single electron, they are highly unstable structure. They are highly reactive chemical species, you can say. So if they are highly reactive or highly unstable, means wherever they will find कोई भी स्ट्रक्चर हो, चाहे प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन का स्ट्रक्चर हो या कोई भी आपका अमीनो एसिड का स्ट्रक्चर हो, पॉलीपेप्टाइड हो, चाहे वो लिपिड का स्ट्रक्चर हो, कार्बोहाइड्रेट का, बिकॉज ऑल आर बीइंग अटैच्ड थ्रू योर कोवैलेंट बॉन्ड एंड ऑल. So these free radicals, they interact with those kind of the single bond and your double bond, and they will break those single and double bond. So bottom line of the story is your free radical, they actually breaks the all kind of, you can say, single bond and double bond which is actually present in the plasma membrane of the microbes. So if they break the, if let's say if it is like a hydrocarbon chain of plasma membrane, like that these plasma membrane, they are made up of phospholipids. So phospholipids, so they have polar group and they have non-polar group. Non-polar group bole to your hydrophobic chain, hydrophobic long chain. So this free radical, they will interact with this single covalent bond of this hydrophobic chain, and they will break this hydrophobic chain, hydrophobic carbon. So once they are being cleaved off, once they are being broken up, so finally integrity of plasma membrane will be disrupted. So finally there will be creation of pore in the plasma membrane. So finally water will enter and through the osmosis and all, and finally this will kill the microbes. So this is how your free radicals kills the microbes, and this is how your lysosomal enzymes, they kills the microbes. And these microbes, as I said, they can make they can fool these phagocytic pathway. So there is one example what we call Mycobacterium tuberculosis. You can see over here. So what they do, they just prevent the fusion of lysosome with the phagosome. So it means that this Mycobacterium tuberculosis, they just prevent the formation of phagolysosome. What is phagolysosome? Phagolysosome is fusion of phagosome and lysosome. This is your phagosome and this is your lysosome. So if they both are being fused, it convert into phagolysosome. Okay? So these Mycobacterium tuberculosis, they just prevent this lysosome to fuse with the phagosome. Means they just prevent the formation of phagolysosome. And by doing this, so if let's say if lysosome is not getting fused with this phagosome, so your microbes, they will stay healthy and they will stay happy in this phagosome. They will keep on multiplying themselves, and they finally they will come out of this phagosome, and they will finally affect that particular host. Similarly, case with the Listeria monocytogenes. It is again a bacteria that cause the meningitis. This again, these tuberculosis mycobacterium, they were preventing this fusion, but these monocytogenes, they actually, they just destroy this plasma membrane of lysosome. They just destroy the integrity of plasma membrane of lysosome, so that once this Listeria microorganisms, they enter into the cell, they will disrupt the lysosomes. So if you have no more functional lysosomes, it means there will be no more formation of phagolysosome. It means that your microbes will stay healthy and happy, and they will keep on affecting you. So something like that. So this is how, what we call, they escape your phagocytic machinery. This is what we call. So this is the last. Yeah.
सर अभी आप बोले कि लाइसोसोम का प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन की इंटीग्रिटी को वो डिस्ट्रॉय कर देता है.
Yes.
सर लेकिन लाइसोसोम का अगर वो अगर वो वेसिकल अगर डिसरप्ट होता है तो जितना भी मतलब उसके अंदर एंजाइम्स वगैरह है वो सेल को, ओवरऑल सेल को डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं कर देंगे.
Perfect. You are right. Absolutely right. See, इसकी इंटेग्रिटी को डिस्टर्ब करता है. इंटेग्रिटी को डिस्टर्ब करता है. It doesn't means कि they will create the pore and whole thing will burst out and whole thing will come out. इंटेग्रिटी को डिस्टर्ब कर रहा है. It means that प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन के ऊपर जो भी प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन इंटीग्रल मेम्ब्रेन प्रोटीन होगा, या समहाउ उनके मेम्ब्रेन में अगर पोर भी क्रिएट कर देंगे, या somehow उसके प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन के ऊपर जो इंटीग्रल मेम्ब्रेन प्रोटीन के फंक्शनलिटी में कहीं कहीं अफेक्ट करेगा. And let's say for if we consider कि yes they have disrupted the integrity of plasma membrane and things like your enzymes they have been come out from the from this lysosome. So you have like cytosol, you have like many other protective mechanisms. They are working for this. So they will, they are there. There to kill those cells and those those enzymes and other things like that. Because you know that these enzymes, your cell they know that this protein has to present inside the lysosome. They do not have to present in the cytoplasm. If they are present in the cytoplasm, means immediately your cell will send the signal to your nucleus. You know there is some locha is going on inside the cytoplasm. Some of the lysosomal proteins they are roaming in the plasma membrane. Sorry, they are roaming in the cytosol. They might hamper and they might disrupt our daily activity. So let's just kill them. Let's just inactivate them. So for that we do have like proteasome system. We do have ubiquitinated proteasome system. So these system they just inactivate or destroy these proteins into non-functional form. ठीक है? Got my point?
यस सर, बट फिर तब जो नॉर्मली कहते हैं कि फॉर सम रीजन इट इज कॉल्ड सुसाइडल बैग,
Yes.
तो फिर वो किस कंडीशन में बर्स्ट होता है? तब वो सेल को मतलब इज देयर समथिंग सिग्नलिंग सिस्टम कि अभी लाइसोसोम को बर्स्ट करना है, और वो जो प्रोटियासोम्स है दे वोंट लाइक वर्क फॉर उसके इनएक्टिवेशन के लिए, ऐसा कुछ
See,
होता है क्या?
no, lysosome they never burst. This is the abnormal condition I am talking about. Whatever I am talking about, this is abnormal condition because your microbes they are hijacking your lysosome. This is not the normal scenario, my friend. This is the abnormal condition we are talking about. When your cell is infected with these microbes like this Mycobacterium tuberculosis and this Listeria, in that case they will disrupt the integrity. And if that case, if they have disrupted the integrity of plasma membrane, and let's say if I consider your case, let's say if the enzymes and other like hydrolytic enzyme they are coming out from the lysosomes. So as I said, we do have proteasome system. We do have system to just inactivate them because our cell they know that the fate of this protein has to be inside the lysosome, but now they are inside the cytosol. So it means that there is some mishappening is going on, some locha is going on. So this finally send a signal, or finally they send a SOS to your nucleus, and your nucleus they just activate your proteasome ubiquitinated proteasome system, and this system they finally inactivate your all sort of your lysosomal proteins and lysosomal enzymes. This is how it takes place. Did you get my point, or still you have confusion?
No sir, yes sir, I got your point.
What did you get? Can you just explain me?
सर ये अब नॉर्मल कंडीशन का केस वी आर स्टडिंग हियर कि
Yes, go on.
दिस लिस्टेरिया
Monocytogenes.
जब मतलब यस सर, जब उसके इंटीग्रिटी को लाइसोसोम की इंटीग्रिटी को लाइसोसोम के प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन का जो मतलब स्ट्रक्चर है उसको जब डिसइंटीग्रेट करता है, एट दैट टाइम सेल को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए फ्रॉम दोज प्रोटियोलिटिक एंजाइम्स ऑफ लाइसोसोम, दिस प्रोटियोसोमा प्रोटियोसोम्स जो होते हैं वो प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं लाइक
Yes, you are right.
साइटोप्लाज्म.
Yeah, but I wanted to say that in normal condition it doesn't happen. ठीक है, नॉर्मल
Yes,
केस में ये बिल्कुल नहीं होता है. ठीक है, आपका लाइसोसोम बर्स्ट कभी नहीं करता. योर लाइसोसोम दे जस्ट गॉट फ्यूज विथ योर फेगोसोम. ठीक है, सी यहाँ पर लाइसोसोम है, दिस योर फेगोसोम, दे जस्ट फ्यूज देमसेल्फ. एंड फ्यूज कैसे होता है ये भी मैंने आप लोगों को बताया था. समथिंग लाइक yes, something like this. पता था कैसे फ्यूज होता है, something like this. So this is how their fusion takes place. So let me come to that slide. Yeah, so here this lysosome they just got fused with these phagosomes. They do not burst it out. They do not burst out. Okay, they just got fused with this phagosome, and they transfer all kind of proteolytic enzymes. They are there with the lysosome. They transfer them into the phagolysosome. And finally these enzymes they kill these red color microbes, and finally these things are being exocytosized as a soluble debris out of the cell, something like this. Okay. So this is last one is bulk phase endocytosis, what we call pinocytosis. We call them cell drinking or sipping. जैसे sipping means कोई चीज अगर आप पीते हो, cell drinking. If you remember, I said कि there are three types of endocytosis: phagocytosis, pinocytosis, and receptor mediated endocytosis. So we studied about phagocytosis. Let's study about this pinocytosis. Pinocytosis, what we call the soluble protein uptake of fluid. If your cell is uptaking any sort of your fluid, this is what we call pinocytosis. That's why we call them, if they are uptaking some fluid, we call them cellular drinking or cellular sipping. So here you can see that this is your plasma membrane. This is your structure of cell, and this blue color is your plasma membrane. You can see. Let's say some fluid and some sort of extracellular fluids which contains your dissolved macromolecules. It could be your amino acid, it could be your some proteins and other things like that. So let's say if you have extracellular fluid, so this fluid has to enter into the cell. So they will enter through the, again, pinocytosis. This is again a process of endocytosis, but we call, instead of phagocytosis, we call them pinocytosis, because we are engulfing the fluid over here. That's why we call them pinocytosis. So there will be the formation of vesicles over here, and again lysosome is there. This lysosome, they will fuse with these vesicles. They will fuse the kind of similar to phagolysosome structure, and this lysosomal proteolytic enzymes, they will finally process this dissolved solute or macromolecules which is present in this fluid, and finally you will get these digested solutes, and these digested solutes could be your amino acids, it could be your hormones, it could be anything, something like that. So this is how you are engulfing or you are endocytizing the extracellular fluid which contains the dissolved substance into the cell. So here you can see that this is what we call vesicles. They just pinching off from the plasma membrane. This is what we call pinching off. This is the vesicles. They just localize, they just pinch off, they finally forms the mature vesicles. And these mature vesicles fuse with the lysosomes. Okay? And finally lysosomes, they degrades the engulfed solutes. Okay? And these solutes could be like your amino acids and fatty acids. And finally these fatty acids and amino acids, they will be used for somewhere else in the cells. So the question is, the main motto behind this bulk phase endocytosis, BH, what we call bulk phase endocytosis, BPE, is mainly to convert plasma membrane into the cytosolic membrane. My friend, just assume the case. If you remember my first or third lecture, where I used to say that, like, let's say your cell is keep on secreting some sort of protein. तो क्या होगा अपूर्वा? In that case, you can see that, like, some translation is happening in the ER. This protein will transport to the Golgi with the help of transport vesicles, and finally through the Golgi they will move further to lysosome, and finally they will move further to the plasma membrane, and finally this protein will be excreted out. So during that case, what is net output? Net output is जो आपका प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन है, ER से निकल के गोल्गी में फ्यूज हो रहा है ट्रांसपोर्ट वेसिकल्स, और गोल्गी से निकल के आपके ट्रांसपोर्ट वेसिकल्स जो है फाइनली आपके प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन मेन जो पेरीफेरी है उसमें फ्यूज हो रहे हैं. सो यू जस्ट एज्यूम द केस माय फ्रेंड, इफ दिस थिंग्स keeps on going, if these things like if you just allow this thing, if the cell allow these things to keep on, then what will be the ultimate case? So there will be a case when your plasma membrane, they will start expanding, and your cytosolic endomembranes like ER, Golgi, and lysosome, they will start shrinking. Am I right or wrong? Did you get what I meant? Means plasma membrane starts expanding and ER starts shrinking. Did you get that, Purva? Any one of you? Can you explain what did I just say? Reena, can you just explain it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go on.
Sir, the function of bulk phase endocytosis is to make plasma membrane to convert plasma membrane into cytosolic membrane. So once the plasma ये vesicle will fuse out to the plasma membrane, then
Yes.
there is a
Expansion in the
constriction of
yeah yeah.
expansion of cytosolic membrane and constriction of plasma membrane.
No. In that case, when things are being secreted, just opposite. You just don't consider this case. You just consider the opposite wala case. When things are going out, this is the thing. When things are coming out, when the things or your cargo or your protein they are going out. In that case, what will happen? ईआर से गोल्गी से फाइनली जो ट्रांसपोर्ट वेसिकल्स है फ्यूज होगा प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन में। तो इन दैट केस प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन आपका एक्सपैंड करेगा, ठीक है, और अंदर का जो ईआर गोल्गी है वो आपका श्रिंक करेगा। उसी को मेंटेन करने के लिए हमारा ये इनवर्ड डायरेक्शन में चलता है। लाइक लेट्स से कि प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन आपका एक्सपेंड हो गया है, तो देयर आर फ्यू थिंग्स। सो इन दिस केस यूजिंग दिस पिनोसाइटोसिस, in this case you can see that these membrane transport membrane vesicles they are getting endocytosed. So these vesicles are coming inside, so they are fusing with the lysosome, and this phagosome again they will fuse with the Golgi, they will fuse with the ER. So they are just maintaining the equilibrium, you can say. So एक साइड में आपका प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन एक्सपैंड हो रहा है, उसी चीज को ओवरकम करने के लिए आपका दूसरे डायरेक्शन में आपका कोई भी चीज इंडोसाइटोसिस हो रही है, तो प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन वापस से आपकी प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन किसी को हम लोग बोलते हैं डायनामिक इक्विलिब्रियम को मेंटेन करके रखता है। So this conversion is required in the cell that have been actively engaged in secretion of proteins outside. जो सेल आपके एक्टिवली इन्वॉल्व हैं सेक्रेशन ऑफ प्रोटीन आउटसाइड, उसमें खास करके आपका बल्क फेज इंडोसाइटोसिस होगा। सो दिस इज द थर्ड वन, लास्ट वन, द रिसेप्टर mediated endocytosis and the role of coated pits. Here you can see that हाँ yes suppose
ये चीज बहुत अच्छे से समझ में है कि कैसे वो इक्विलिब्रियम मेंटेन हो रहा है, एंड स्पेशली इन सेल्स में जो एक्टिवली प्रोटीन सिक्रीशन वगैरह में इन्वॉल्व है सर। लेकिन जैसे उस इक्विलिब्रियम को मेंटेन करने के लिए बाहर से आउटर सोर्स से भी, तो जैसे इस केस में आप बता रहे थे कि हार्मोन्स है
Yes.
या पिनोसाइटोसिस के केस में वो बाहर से उस चीज को इनगल्फ करता है, अंदर उसको डिस्ट्रॉय करता है और उस प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन को फिर एंडोप्लाज्मिक रेटिकुलम वगैरह के मतलब मेम्ब्रेन के मेंटेनेंस में यूज करता है।
Yes.
फाइन, लेकिन सर अगर ऐसा कुछ एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट से सेल को ना मिले या उस इक्विलिब्रियम को मेंटेन करने के लिए जितना अमाउंट चाहिए वो नहीं मिले, तो फिर कैसे मेंटेन
So
होगा?
that's what I'm telling you. You know, there are a lot of kind of like always endocytosis is going on. Like your like you have insulin. They are if say they are present in the extracellular environment or blood somewhere in the blood. So they will be definitely there will be endocytosis for insulin. This was just one single example. There are so many things that are always they are always endocytosizing through the cells. So if this will stop, it means of course your equilibrium will be disturbed and your cell will be your cell will be dead in after a few days or something like that. So this equilibrium has to be maintained. This exocytosis and endocytosis, these things has to keep on going always. एक साइड से बाहर निकलेगा, एक साइड से अंदर जाएगा। तो during this way, during this entire process, the integrity of plasma membrane of outer membrane and integrity of plasma membrane of your like your cytosolic organs like mitochondria, like ER, Golgi, chloroplast, lysosome, इस दोनों का इससे मेंटेन रहता है। ठीक है, अगर ये स्टॉप हो जाए तो समझ लो आपकी सेल की भी स्टोरी खत्म हो जाएगी उसी दिन। So this has to take place. ठीक है, so last one is yeah. Abhishek, you are asking something? Okay. So this last one is receptor mediated endocytosis, what we call RME, and role of coated pits. As I said, phagocytosis, अगर आपका large solid particles हो, endocytosis. Pinocytosis, if you have fluid, extracellular fluid, if you want to get this extracellular fluid from outer side to inner side, you will follow the pinocytosis. If it is like some sort of some risk, if you are engulfing of, or if you are getting something through the some kind of receptor and all, we call them receptor mediated endocytosis. As I said, typical example like insulin. So we do have insulin receptor on our cell surface. So this insulin, they recognize the insulin receptor onto the cell surface, and they finally concentrate on that particular region. They form the coated pits, and finally they are being endocytosized. So something like that. So these receptor-mediated endocytosis, they provide selective and efficient uptake of macromolecules. Why we are calling them selective? You can see, my friend, selective means there are, like, if we have like 10 different hormones in our body, so we have 10 different receptors in our body. We have insulin receptor for insulin, we have receptor for glucagon, we have receptor for fibronectin, we have receptor for some other kind of growth hormones and other things like that. So this is why we call them selective intake, selective uptake, because if this thing will be taken inside only when receptors are there on the plasma membrane. So this is the reason we call them selective uptake, and they are efficient also, because if there is a receptor for that, so they will be highly efficient, and they may be present at relatively low concentration in the extracellular fluid, because your insulin, it's not like they will have very high concentration, they are present in very low concentration. So because of this reason, the cell has given receptor to onto the surface. In case of pinocytosis and in case of phagocytosis, in that case we have hell lot of these solid material and fluid material, they are present on the extracellular matrix. So there is no problem in that case. That's why we do not require receptor in those cases. But in case of this RME, here we required receptor, because these hormones or these proteins, they are present in extremely low concentration outside the cell. You can say in the nanomolar quantity and something like that. So these surfaces, these hormones and growth factors, they interact with the receptors onto the plasma membrane. Once these proteins or hormones or growth factors, they interact with the receptor, then there will be there is a indentation of, you can say, प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन वहां पर इम्प्रेस होना स्टार्ट होगा. मीन्स प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन, लेमन में बोलूँ तो प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन वहां धंसना आपका स्टार्ट हो जाएगा. जैसे ही प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन वहां आपका धंसना स्टार्ट हो गया, ठीक है, वहां पर जितने भी आपके हार्मोन और रिसेप्टर कॉम्प्लेक्स हैं, दे विल स्टार्ट कॉन्सेंट्रेटिंग इन दैट पार्टिकुलर रीजन. और जहां पर ये धंसना स्टार्ट होता है, इस रीजन को वी कॉल देम कोएटेड पिट्स. This is what we call coated pits, and finally they keep on this formation of these vesicles, and there will be a case when there will be a complete formation of vesicles, and these vesicles finally they will fuse with the lysosome, and because lysosome has low pH, because of low pH, this hormone, they will detach from their receptor, and finally hormones, they will enter into your cytoplasm and they will do their activity, something like that. And these kind of endocytosis, they are taken place with the help of clathrin. If you remember, I said that there are three mode of transport vesicles. First is COP2, COP1, then clathrin coated. So this is what we call clathrin coated transport vesicles. So apart from exocytosis, in the endocytosis process also clathrin protein is required. And how do they work? You can see over here. So in this case, you can see that. So this is the transport vesicles, and onto their surface, these are the clathrin. So this clathrin, we call them clathrin triskelion. Why we call them triskelion? Because they are tripods. They have 1, 2, 3. They have 3 legs. That's why we call them triskelion. This clathrin. So you can see that in this is the pictorial or schematic representation of these transport vesicles. You can see that these triskelions, they are scattered throughout the surface of these transport vesicles. Okay, and wherever the surfaces is there, so there will be hexagon form of this clathrin, means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And whenever there is a curvature, there will be pentagonal conformation. You can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So curvature of clathrin coat is facilitated by conversion of hexagon lattice into the pentagon. So in normal, your clathrin triskelion, they arrange themselves in a hexagonal lattice. You can see over here, they have hexagonal lattice, means 6 faces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And whenever there is a curvature, you can see this was a normal surface and this is the curvature. Curvature is also here, curvature will be also here, curvature will be also here. So when there is a curvature, this hexagon convert into the pentagon. Okay? So this is how these things are being formed. And there is another protein what we call dynamine. If you remember my last to last class where I have also discussed the dynamine, this dynamine, they help in pinching out of this transport vesicles. You can see that these dynamines. So these dynamines, they require GTP, and with the help of GTP, they helps in detachment of this transport vesicles from the plasma membrane. So finally your transport vesicles is ready, and they are ready to fuse with lysosome and something like that. So this is the you can say final slides, and we are going to end the protein trafficking over here. So finally, so how membrane dynamics are maintained throughout the endocytic pathway. So I guess I have already discussed this thing while discussing this bulk phase endocytosis, that Reena and Apurva, they have also explained it pretty well. So here you can see that following internalization, vesicles bound materials are transported into the endosome. Okay? And these endosomes, so earlier when these vesicles, they are present near the periphery of the plasma membrane, we call them early endosomes. They have bit higher pH. Furthermore, they convert, once they fuse with the lysosome and other vesicles, they will convert into the late endosome, and this late endosome will have lower pH. So endosomes are of two types. One is early endosomes, which are typically located near the periphery region of the cells, and there is a late endosomes. So these late endosomes, they are typically located near the nucleus. See, this is the Golgi. Golgi से पहले यहाँ आपका ER होगा और ER से पहले आपका nucleus होगा. So this is towards the nucleus, this is towards the periphery. So once your transport vesicles is present near the periphery, they are called as early endosome. They will have higher pH. But once these vesicles, they are somehow near to this nucleus, we call them late, what we call late endosomes. And they have, you can say, yeah, they have this late endosome, they will have low pH. And because of this low pH, and how pH is lowering down, because this transport vesicles, they are getting fused with the lysosome, and you know that lysosome has lower pH. So this, once this lysosome fuse with this early endosome, they convert them into the late endosome, and they just decrease the pH, something like this. And how these pH are being maintained, or pH are low in this endosomes, because of presence of H plus ATPase transporter. If you remember, I said that V type ATPase. So these lysosomes, and I guess this Avnish, he has asked in last class, so why and what makes this lysosomal environment pH, means lysosome के अंदर का pH कम कैसे रहता है, एसिडिक pH कैसे रहता है, H plus ज़्यादा कैसे रहता है. तो मैंने उस टाइम आप लोग को बताया था, there is a pump what we call H plus ATPase transporter. So what they do, they just influx the amount of H plus from the cytosol into the lysosome के lumen, and this is why your pH of your lysosome is low, means acidic, something like that. So this is how you can see that your things are, let's say if it is receptor, then it is receptor mediated endocytosis. There will be, this is the clathrin coat, you can see, this is the adapter, trigonal adapter, this is the triskelion over here. Finally they are pinching off with the help of dynamine. Okay? So after some times, these all clathrin and things, they will disassemble from this vesicles, because what was the role of this clathrin? The role of clathrin was to just detach the whole thing from here, and just to protect them for somehow, and to just dock them from here to here. As I said, there is a role of cop. पुलिस का कुछ रोल होता है. वो अगर लेट्स से अगर आपके गवर्नर आते हैं आपके यहाँ पर कन्वोकेशन में, तो आपके गवर्नर को पुलिस क्या करती है, पहले उसको रिसीव करती है, फिर उसको स्टेज पर छोड़ देती है. तो समथिंग लाइक दैट. सिमिलरली your clathrin, they act as a cop. You can say they act as like a cop here. So they just detach these vesicles. They just help in this fusion of this transport vesicles or early endosome with the lysosome, and finally it will convert into the late lysosome. ठीक है? So during this process, this whole thing will be clathrin things will be disassembled from here. ठीक है? Now this is what we call peripheral early endosome. So this will now fuse with the your lysosome. Your lysosome, they are coming out from the trans-Golgi network. They will fuse with this endosome. They will form the late endosome, and finally this thing, because this receptor, they has to again go on this plasma membrane, because this receptor, they are the hormone receptor like insulin receptor and some of the receptor for growth factors. So they has to be come back to the plasma membrane. जो मेन आपका प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन है उसके ऊपर वापस से इसको आना होता है. So this will be taken care of another pathway, what we call, you can see that from this late endosome, this transport receptors or these receptors are being recycled through these transport vesicles, and these transport vesicles finally fuse with this plasma membrane, and these, you know, these receptors, they are finally being embedded in this plasma membrane of periphery of plasma membrane. So this is what we call membrane dynamics. So let's say things are coming inside, means in this case, if this transport vesicles is coming inside, it means that your plasma membrane, if we talk about a net, means your plasma membrane will shrink in this case. But again, during this recycling process, your plasma membrane is fusing with the this another vesicle. So again this will expand. So this is net is zero. इस केस में श्रिंक हो रहा था प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन, वापस से प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन को ओरिजिनल स्टेट पर ला दिया. So this is what we call membrane dynamics, and these things are always keeps going on during the case of when the cells, they are actively involved in secretion of hormone and something like this. This is what we call end of voyage, end of our journey. It's not about end of our journey, it's end of journey of the protein. This is what journey of protein is. So till now we have studied like how the messenger RNA, they are being processed inside the nucleus. ठीक है? How they come out through the nuclear pore from the nucleus, and after that which machinery they will follow. If they are following the free floating ribosome machinery, means fate of protein will be cytosol, mitochondria, chloroplast and nucleus. If this protein will follow the membrane bound ribosome wala machinery, then they will have to, this protein has to, fate of this protein are ER, Golgi, lysosome, or outside the plasma membrane or some integral membrane protein. So something like that. So this is what ER to Golgi, Golgi to cell exterior, or something like cell exterior to early endosome, then late endosome, then there is a lysosome, so something like that. So this is a cartoon representation. You can see this is a Golgi apparatus. So Golgi apparatus say to this protein, oh, you look like a cytosolic guy. So I don't have to bother about you because you are a cytosolic guy. So you don't have to come inside me because you are a cytosolic guy. So you just go to you just talk to cytoplasmic ribosome. You just get translated over there, and then you go to their final destination. You don't have to follow this endocytic wala pathway like ER, Golgi, lysosome and something like that. So these are the fate of protein like cytosol. There are these 4 or 5 different types of protein. There are some proteins, their fate is cytosol. There are some proteins, their fate is cell membrane. There are some protein where fate is secretion, and there are some proteins whose fate is like endomembrane organelles, whether it is ER, Golgi or lysosome, something like that. So this was all about your like, you can see that we have studied like all about how these things like how your protein trafficking things works in our body. So in next class we'll start about probably we'll start this signal transduction और सेल कम्युनिकेशन विल स्टार्ट. ठीक है? किसी को कोई कंफ्यूजन यहाँ तक? हेलो? If you have no confusion, then let's just end the class, and thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.